To be or not to come back. To be. Basically what I'm saying. How y'all doing? This is my first Raw Mango video in 2025. I just want to make a disclaimer. This video's pre-recorded. This video's pre-recorded because this video took so many days, so I don't know when y'all gonna be seeing this. Maybe seeing this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Either way, we might as well just get this out because this video took so long. But yeah, another Raw Mango video. This one is about 502 people died at a mall, and all I heard was that it was bad businessmen, and then one bad thing happened to a next, and then just everything kind of just went bad and downhill. So yeah, see, I haven't made a video in so long, I don't even know what to say. Yeah, let's just get right into this.
Mina looks around. There's definitely nobody near them, and there's definitely not a middle-aged man. All of the employees at this children's clothing store, they're young women. So she's confused. What ajashi are you talking about? Like, I just need to grab a few more things.
And ajashi is a old man.
Old middle-aged man.
Yeah.
And he looks up at her again and says, that ajashi right there told me to leave. And he's pointing into the air. Mina looks, and there is nobody. She says, are you sure you saw an ajashi? What did he look like? He keeps saying he was bleeding. He keeps trying to hug the nice cashier lady. Mina didn't leave because she's in this very fancy luxury shopping mall, and maybe kids just make up some things. Maybe he wanted to go to a toy store instead. Maybe he was bored. Maybe he wanted to go home and watch TV. It just didn't make any sense why there would be a bleeding man in the middle of this store. I mean, this mall is known for, you walk in, very normal to see coats going for $1,000 a coat. Table tea sets going for $8,000, $9,000. People dressed up to go shopping at this establishment. There certainly weren't any middle-aged bleeding ajashis trying to hug cashiers. It's just not that type of place. But these were the rumors that would float around Korea even to this day. Children dragging their parents out of this mall, talking about how they saw a bloody man telling them to get out. How they saw bloody people climbing onto workers' backs, trying to almost get on their back like a piggyback ride. There were rumors that children were being warned to stay away from this mall. Because very soon, over 502 people would be dead and 30 people would go missing inside of these very walls. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. This is another Korean case. We had multiple Korean researchers assist in gathering of the facts on this one. But as always, please let us know if there's anything that we didn't cover or something that got lost in translation. I mean, it's a huge case, so I'm sure it's bound that we're going to have things that we didn't touch up on, but just let us know in the comments. So with that being said, let's get into it. June 29th in South Korea is almost peak summertime. I mean, almost every single person that walked into the Samplung Mall said the same thing that day. 왜 이렇게 더워? Which is, why is it so hot? Like, why is it so hot? A lot of people were coming to the mall to avoid the heat outside. And usually these massive indoor malls, they blast the AC during the summer. You walk in, you feel that ice cold air smack you on the way in. Not today. The mall was more humid, more hot, clammy. It was so hot, it was difficult to breathe inside of the mall. It's like the AC was broken. The workers are profusely sweating, apologizing to the customers. Sorry, the AC is broken. I'm sure it's going to turn back on any second now. And despite all the heat, about 1,000 people were inside that mall when the whole thing came crumbling down. Everyone had 20 seconds to get out of that mall. That's all they got. 20 seconds is the length of the happy birthday song in
None of y'all
Korean.
surviving that,
If you had
honestly,
20
unless you're on the
seconds
first
to,
floor.
do you think you could go from inside of the changing room, inside of a store, get out of the store, down the hall, to the emergency staircase, down the stairs to the ground floor? Let's say you're 4 stories high, 3 stories, fine, right? And at least a few more steps further to avoid impact. Could you do that in 20 seconds? So Pyongo,
jump out the
he
window.
was a
That's what I would do.
막내 at his job, which means he was the youngest in amongst all of his coworkers, which is why all the colleagues kind of like took it easy on him when he was pouting and whining the whole day. He's like, it's not fair. We work at the restaurant on the 5th floor. The AC's broken. All the other restaurants on this floor are closed. Why are we open? Why are we the only one? On top of that, I mean, do customers really want to eat right now? It's so hot.
So the AC just broke that day.
Yeah, all day it had been off.
Okay, so it's not like ongoing. It's
No.
just it's okay.
That one day. So he's in the front keeping himself busy when the head chef runs out from the kitchen. Get out, get out, get out. Pyongho's like, okay, I'm not even going to look up. He just casually says, okay, give me a second. Like, I just need to finish this up. The chef runs to Pyongho, pushes him on the back and says, you idiot, I said run. And he looks up and he sees people booking it. Like there's like 5 customers, they're booking it to the emergency stairwell. So he starts jumping over chairs, jumping over tables, trying to join them at that staircase. He has no idea what's going on. He just knows that they're all running. And as he's running, one by one, the lights, the recessed lighting in the ceiling, they're shattering. And it's getting darker and darker, and Pyongho would have 20 seconds to make it out alive. Jiwon, let's call her Gia, was another employee at the mall. She worked in the basement level, so she sold crystals at one of those like home goods shops. And that day, she took her break early because it was so hot. I mean, she felt like all day, if she even moved fast, if she even thought fast, she would break out into a full-blown sweat. So she tried to move slowly, reserve this energy. She had to fight every intrusive thought that she had to not just walk out of that store, quit, and never look back. That's how hot it was. She takes her break early, and as she's walking back into the store, the manager, Unni, which is like an older sister, right, starts running towards her screaming, turn around, run, run. The last thing Gia remembers were these little broken shards of crystal flying at her, and she didn't understand what was happening. Just that all the crystals in the shop looked like they had exploded. Gia would have 20 seconds to make it out alive. 19-year-old, let's call her Sarah. Sarah had just graduated from high school, and now she's working at one of these high-end
19-year-old
children's shops,
graduated from
basement
high
level
school?
of the mall. She wasn't even supposed to be
Is she
working that
stupid?
day. Her colleague
Or is
called
that
her and
just
was
the
like, hey,
graduation
can you
date
switch
or
shifts with
graduation
me?
age for,
So she
career?
did. She was coming back from her lunch break when she felt something really strange. There was a cold wind. And it felt really nice because she had been sweating in this hot, humid, dank basement floor all day without the AC. But did you just catch on?
Well, yeah, why is there a cold wind, right?
Exactly. She works on
came out
level
all
B1,
fun.
the basement floor. There's no exterior doors that could be opened to let in a breeze. It was a strong breeze, too. And the AC wasn't back on. Sarah would have 20 seconds to make it out alive. There is a man, 21. His name is Choi Myung-seok, but we're going to call him Michael. He actually started working at the shoe store in this Hampung department store. He was studying architecture, but he just needed to make some extra money on the side. And he was on his shift when everything went dark. He didn't even have 20 seconds to run. Nothing registered in him. It was just lights out, literally, figuratively. When he woke back up, everything was pitch black. He was laying on cold concrete. He's basically boxed in by concrete. He couldn't move. On the sides of him, there was concrete. Above him, there was concrete. Below him, concrete. He just had to lay there in a fetal position, having no idea what had just happened. There was no light, no food, no water. He tried to kind of push up against the jagged concrete, but he was worried that any sort of movement would cause the concrete to completely crush him. Even the air supply felt stale, dusty, and limited. The panic starts to kick in. He's like getting claustrophobia. And in any other situation, I think that this would have been terrifying. But he started hearing a woman's screams. And she's screaming, "Save me! Save me!" He said that he felt kind of happy that he wasn't alone in the dark. So he starts screaming back, "Hello? there were now two voices responding back at him. So one was Lee Sung-yeon, a 25-year-old woman that worked in the kitchenware shop, also on the first basement floor, and an ajumani. So that's like an older auntie customer.
So these are a lot of like basement workers, right?
Yes.
Is it because there's a higher chance of survival? Oh my
Everyone on
gosh.
floors 1 through 5, unless they were in, unless they were out of the building, they would die.
Hell no.
So
I'm not doing
they
that.
were all trapped.
I'm not going
Just
there.
like Michael,
I mean, I
the
can't now,
ajumani,
I'll go on it. If that
the
was
woman,
still
they're
up
all
there.
trapped.
I'm
The
not going
ajumani
there.
could
It's
barely
underground.
talk because she was
I don't know what they
actively
have going
being
up in there, but
squashed
I'm not
by the
going down there.
concrete, like on her chest.
Ajumani is
The customer.
She's
An
an
older
old-
woman.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say maybe like 50s, 60s. And she told them in all these gasp breaths, like, there's a heavy piece of concrete on my chest. I can't talk. So the two, Michael and the other kitchen shop worker, they tried to help her not panic so that she's not going to hyperventilate, because there's no way for her to even like take in a big breath of air. So in small breaths, in very kind of like she's drowning, she tells the others, my daughter turned 30 this year. And there was just this lingering silence, because it's a reminder of everything that was outside, and they don't know what to say to that. So they fall silent. Michael feels these tears coming down the sides of his face, and he says, then let's get out alive. And the three promised each other, okay, us three, we're gonna get out alive. And then everything went black again. Michael and the others, they kept falling asleep, coming to, falling asleep, passing out. I wonder if it's the air supply that was cutting them off. It was hard to even gauge how long they had been in there. Michael asked the others, hello? How long have we been in here? The 25-year-old worker responded, but her voice sounded really weak.
She probably
I
really
think a
hurt.
day, maybe 2. I don't know. It feels like a week. Ajumani, are you okay? Silence. And then they started panicking.
She dead?
Ajumani, you have to wake up. You gotta wake up. Your daughter just turned 30. Michael would never hear her voice again. She was gone, and she would never get to see her daughter turn 31. Not long after, the 25-year-old kitchen worker called out for Michael and said, Michael? Yeah? I think I'm gonna go now. Please tell my family I love them. Michael said that after that, the fear of death had never been so strong. Like, he could almost taste it. It gripped his entire being. He said it's very hard to explain. He had never felt anything like that. He was all alone. The two others that had, quote, survived, they were now dead. He felt like it was only a matter of time until he died, but it's a slow, agonizing wait.
See, it's crazy
He
when you
started
feel-
feeling
you got that feeling
delusional
like
from
you
the
know you
anxiety,
finna
the
die.
hunger, and then all of a sudden, he just felt so thirsty. He didn't even feel scared anymore. It was all he could think about was water, thirst. It's like he was going crazy. Right at that time, someone answered his prayers. While he was feeling delirious, water started dripping onto his head. He didn't even know
What
if
a
he was
miracle
dreaming.
that was.
He genuinely thought, am I hallucinating? Like, you know, when you see the lakes at the desert and you keep walking towards it? He thought it was that. But he scooted so that the water would drip directly into his mouth instead of his forehead. And he started drinking the disgusting water that was
Where is
dripping
that
into his
water coming
mouth.
from?
He felt around with his hands in the dark, and there were these few pieces of like dusty, I don't even want to call it like paper, more like cardboard boxes.
Sandpaper? Oh.
And he grabbed them, wet them in the water, and he slowly laid there, ripping it, shoving it in his mouth,
Oh, my God.
chewing
Eating it.
and eating it.
Oh.
He was so
Lord,
desperate to
soggy
just
ass cardboard
fill his stomach with anything.
Oh,
That
goodness
acid was just
gracious.
killing him.
Goodness,
Now,
acid.
side note, the water that he's drinking and that he's wetting this paper with, it's not fresh water or even tap water. It has been through layers of concrete, dust, rust, and that's if
Oh,
there's
it's
no
like
dead bodies on top of him. It was very risky
oh,
water,
God,
but
it's
he
like
had
dead
no
sewage
choice.
pollution water.
And that is what he would do
God.
for the next 11 days. That's
How's
almost
he
2
not
full
dead
weeks.
yet at this point? Drinking all
In
that acid and
silence,
disgusting water.
alone in the dark, eating rusty, wet paper. It was dead silent for Michael. He had no idea that on the other side of all these layers and layers of concrete and twisted metal, there were thousands of people trying to save him. All hell had just broken loose. This was happening on a random Tuesday afternoon. There were commuters, office workers, families driving near the mall, out walking on the streets. They hear this crazy, almost deafening noise. They look to their left. I mean, some of them it's their right. And this entire shopping mall, one of the most iconic buildings at the time, because it's like this salmon pink color. Everyone knew that Sampung Mall, right? Pancaked. This mall that was 10, 20 stories tall now looked like a one-story building.
Tall?
Pancaked.
Why does it need to be that
A
big?
pile of rubble. It wasn't even like an avalanche where, which I know those things happen very quickly, but you watch those videos and you see things are slowly falling and you can't stop it, but it comes closer and closer. This was 1 second the building is standing up tall, totally fine. The next second, it's on the ground. All you see are skies. The first thing on everyone's mind was North Korea. We are under attack. This is a full-blown war. North Korea is attacking us. So a lot of people are running away from the building because they don't know, is North Korea going to attack another building?
I wouldn't go towards it.
But a lot of people were running towards the building to try and help anyone they could.
See, I know y'all want to be
And it
nice,
was like a
but,
group of zombies were seen walking out of the
put
mall.
yourself first.
Their faces, their hair, their whole body was white, like powder white. Some of them had even patches of bright red blood on them, but the rest of their bodies, powder white. Even their eyelashes were white. It's like someone threw bags of flour at them. There was so much sand, rubble, cement, particles in the air that anyone within an 80 feet radius from the mall was covered in white powder.
Wow.
At this point, breaking news is playing on every single TV station news network. Sampung department store has just collapsed. There are an estimated 1,000 people inside at the time of the collapse. As of right now, investigators do not know the cause of the attack. There is speculation that this could be the work of a terrorist attack by North Korea. Hundreds of ambulances, fire trucks, they rushed the scene. About 4,000 official personnel. So, I mean, you're talking firefighters, police, soldiers. They start arriving at the scene. They bring in helicopter cranes, heavy machinery, and the whole situation was so tricky. There's two main issues that the rescuers are confronted with. So the first being that the left and right edges of this building have not collapsed. It's like someone cut out just two edges of a cake and then squashed the middle.
Or like goalposts.
But the sides are standing and now they're starting to kind of tip each way.
So they're gonna fall and hit some people. Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
so if you're standing in the middle of this rubble trying to dig out people, this falls, I mean, people are gonna die.
Oh, and they can they even knock it down?
No.
Because that will fall on
Yeah,
more people.
more people. So at any moment, it's
But I'm
at
more
the risk
paying
of
attention to this
collapsing.
anymore.
I mean, it's like a domino waiting to topple over. It looks like a strong gust of wind could take it down. It's dangerous.
week.
And the second problem was, even though that we have all of this heavy machinery, right? We've got the helicopter, fork cranes, none of it could be used. The experienced rescuers, they point out, if we use this equipment and we're not precise, if there's someone underneath a piece of concrete, the machine could easily squash them. Or, let's say we're trying to pick up that concrete, we could literally rip someone in half with a crane. We could literally rip their head off.
Oh, Mortal Kombat.
Have you ever played
fatality.
pickup sticks?
What?
You get the same size sticks, you throw them,
yes.
and then you have to take each stick out without moving the other ones. That's what this was a game of. And the stakes
I don't
were
know
really
that,
high.
but
The
it's Mortal
rescuers said,
Kombat
I mean,
for real.
people are going to
My
die if
opinion.
we don't do this right. So the only way to save people was to use light machinery and go by hand and just pray that the edges of the building would not collapse in on them.
Oh, it'll collapse.
So originally, the morale amongst rescuers was very, very high. I mean, it would be a miracle if anyone survived, but they at least had to try.
Yeah.
But once they got to work, they said, they noticed so many mannequin parts that were under the rubble. So looking from afar on the street, they could see like arms, legs, and torsos just peeking out from the rubble. And it's unsettling, but it's like, it's to be expected. It's a shopping mall. But once they lifted layers of concrete,
It was a mannequin.
they were people. The night before Michael was trapped, security guard Ian was alone doing his rounds. And he wasn't nervous. You know, there's cameras everywhere, big, massive gates that are closed at night. Nobody ever tries to break into one of the top department stores in Seoul. But still, it's 3 a.m. and the empty building is kind of creepy. All the mannequins are practically glowing under the dim lights. And he has to walk from each floor to each floor, and like the echo of his footsteps, that's the creepiest part. Every step, it sounds like someone is walking behind him. And he's walking through this newly renovated hallway when he hears like this groan. It sounds like one of those fantasy movies where they have like monsters or dragons that are groaning or hissing. And he freezes. Okay, there's no alarm sounding, so he can't be a robber, and that's not even like a human noise. It sounded like it was coming from the top floor. So he speed runs all the way up to the 5th floor. And so earlier I said the building is 10 to 20 stories high, right? It's 10 to 20 apartment stories high. But because it's one of those fancy department stores, it's only 5 levels above ground, but each level you're talking like crazy, like 30-foot ceilings.
So double the regular.
Yes, double, triple. So he's running up to the 5th floor and he looks up, he sees all these restaurants that are closed. And at first glance, everything seems normal. There's no one hiding, there's no shadowy figures, anything like that. And then he sees the moonlight reflecting off the glass of the restaurant. But not just even the moonlight. He sees the moon reflecting off. He's like, that is so weird. And he looks up. There is a giant table-sized hole in the ceiling. It looked like someone or something had taken a bite out of the ceiling. This is the night before the collapse. Now, if you ask any Korean person, if you had a time machine, what would you do? What was the first thing that you do with the time machine? An overwhelming majority of them would answer, I would go and buy up all the land in Gangnam. Yeah. So 50 years ago, if you purchased land in the city of Gangnam, which is like the Beverly Hills, the Upper East Side of South Korea, you would be part of South Korea's ultra elite today. But how would you even know to do that? 50 years ago, Gangnam was not a fun, glamorous place. It was kind of more of a dangerous place. Gangnam is south of the Han River in Seoul, and back then the rich people only lived above the river. They never lived below. Anything below was considered not that classy. But somehow, this businessman by the name of Lee Jun, this influential rich businessman, he worked in the South Korean government. He had ties to the American CIA. He owned a massive construction company, and he focused on doubling his business every year, which is insane. To double your business every year, that's crazy. He mainly did this by buying up land in underdeveloped, not so desirable areas like Gangnam and turning it into what it is today. And side note, he's not that smart. He's not a real estate whisperer. He was a high-up government employee, and he would get word that the government wants to develop Gangnam or this area of Seoul, and he would just go in and buy a ton of land.
So he's a dumbass.
Most of the time, he would just flip it and sell it back to the government at an inflated price. But he was going in when Gangnam real estate was selling for less than $6 a square foot. Now, it's about $1,000 a square foot. I did some math. That means if you bought an apartment that's about 1,500 square feet, that would have been about $10,000.
Yeah.
Today, that same land, that same piece of land, $1.5 million. So Lee, with his insider information, he bought over 2 million square feet in Gangnam back when it was dirt cheap.
2 million?
But he's like, you know what? Why would I sell this land back? I should develop it. I should do something. There's new fancy schools coming into Gangnam. Like some colleges are coming in. We got some private schools coming in. We got all these. So Gangnam is kind of known as like the new money area. The old money Koreans actually still live above the river, they say. In Gangnam, you've got all like the lawyers, doctors, like the professionals moving in. So he's like, I need to make a department store. Because what do new money residents like? They like labels. They want to show people they have money. So back in the day, you know, Korean stores, you go there, it's utilitarian. You go and you buy what you need. I'm going to make it super aesthetic. I want it to be a one-shop stop. I want them to come. It's a social event. They eat dinner. There's fancy restaurants. There's a fancy supermarket. I want everything in there. So he gets this construction company called Wooseong Construction. Apparently, they're actually really good. They've got a very clean reputation, or relatively clean. A lot of people vouch for their durability. Like right now, if you see new apartments, it might even say like Wooseong Constructed, because people really like it. So Lee tells Woo-sung, I want a 4-story commercial building. They're like, okay. They start drawing out the plans. They start building the building. And halfway through, they've got the main foundation up. Lee walks into their office, sits down. You know what? Let's add another floor. Make it 5. Better number, right? 4 is a bad number. 5 is good. Woo-sung is looking at him like, are you dumb? You cannot just add another floor. That's not how it works. If you want another floor, we have to start over. We have to bulldoze everything down and start over. If you add another floor without altering the current plans, the building would have way too much weight and stress on the foundation, and it's going to be compromised.
I believe you.
So Lee gets up and says, okay, well then you're fired. He goes and he hires a new construction team, one that has a very hard time saying no to him. His own construction team. He acts like he is the construction engineer, the architect. If you say no to him, you're fired and potentially blacklisted from the industry. And so they made his ultimate dream come true. His team built the Sampung department store. It would be the second biggest department store in the nation at the time. And it would bring in insane amounts of money. The first year they were open, they were projected to do about 150 million in revenue. That's calculated with inflation. The second year, they doubled. 300 million a year in revenue.
Catch it.
Sampung department store was built with the intention that you don't have to go anywhere else, okay? Everything's in these 2 buildings. So there's building A and building B, and they're connected on each floor by these long hallways. But the hallways are not the width of building A and B. So it looks like, kind of from an aerial view, it looks like 2 squares with a short line in between, like a short stick connecting them. Now, you don't ever have to leave the building to get to the other one, but it's interesting. Building A was the mall. The 5th floor would have all these fancy sit-down restaurants. You could meet up with your friends before you go shopping. And then the 4th floor, luxury household goods, fancy wine glasses. 3rd floor, men's clothing. 2nd floor, women's clothing. 1st floor, foreign imported goods and cosmetics. Now, there are 4 basement levels. B2 through B4, they're more for like storage, machine rooms, parking spaces. And B1 is kind of open to the public. It's a mall. So a lot of Korean malls, they have supermarkets on the basement level. So you literally run all your errands. This is kind of genius. They also have cheaper food courts in the basement. So more like food stands. So B1 is open to the public, and there's always a lot of customers and workers shuffling in and out of that floor. Now, building B is more commercial real estate. So you got office buildings, you have a gym, but that's about it. Not a lot of foot traffic, not a lot of aesthetics. It looks like just your office plaza. Okay, so what's so wrong about it? Here's what's wrong about it. The escalators. Most buildings, and I never noticed this until I was researching this, but there's usually 2 escalators per floor.
Yeah.
And like 2 going up, 2 going down, especially big malls. And I always thought, okay, so it's more people can go up and down the escalators, manage the traffic, right? And I'm sure that plays a role. But a big reasoning behind it is apparently having 2 escalators going up and down on either side helps distribute the weight better.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, it's a
you
thing,
know,
okay?
kind of
Apparently
on
having 2 escalators on a floor helps distribute the weight, making it safer. And Lee said, actually, no, that's so expensive. I just need 1. So he kept putting just 1 escalator on each floor. In massive buildings, especially commercial buildings, there are these giant rods in the middle of the open space. They're load-bearing columns. They're there to hold weight. So if you walk in to your local mall, you're going to see these giant round columns. It's drywalled. It looks pretty. But you're like, oh, why is this here? It's blocking my view. It's to hold weight. Like, there's no way that you can have this massive room and just have 4 walls. Well, the original plan was to have 31-inch thick columns. It's about 2.5 feet thick. And inside, you can't see it because it's covered in drywall, but there's supposed to be 16 steel rods supporting the weight. Lee said, let's make the columns less than 2 feet thick because I don't like big columns. I want to be able to see the merchandise. And why do we need 16 steel rods? Let's do 8. This is a huge deal. The steel rods are what's holding up the weight above it. People take lack of steel rods so seriously. Recently in Korea, a apartment building company, they put in less steel than they were supposed to. They were exposed for it, and now that building is called Boneless Chicken Apartment Building. Yeah.
There's still a building.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's up to code, but it's not as good or as much as other builders do. So they're called Boneless Chicken Apartment Building. because why are you not, like, steel rods, seriously? Lee said that he hated the idea of thick columns, so let's cut it down. But that's not the only thing that he skimped out on cost. So this is going to get really complicated, but just like bear with me, it's so important. When you have a flat ceiling and a column right up against it, it's called flat slab construction. Or at least in Korean, that's what it's called. It looks modern, it's faster to build, it's cheaper, but it's definitely not safer. It can cause something called a punching phenomenon. Imagine you've got a piece of paper and you're holding it down on a pencil. The pencil could easily punch through into the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to stick another circular piece of paper on the point of the pencil and then stick another paper on top, it's much harder for you to stick through, even though it's just paper. It's very hard to punch through two layers.
So that's what they've been
That's
doing?
the drop panel. That's what it's called.
Mm.
So think of it as, instead of walking through the mud with sneakers, you're walking through with heels. The difference is
The
massive.
heels
Yeah.
gonna get
Your
sucked
heels are going to poke into the soil.
and
Yeah.
get stuck.
But Lee, rich businessman, owner of a crazy lucrative construction company, says, should be okay. He knew that this was a bad idea. He knew this was dangerous, but it saved him money. So he was all aboard. He said, you know what, it's fine. Columns are strong. But they're not, especially when you take out half the steel rods, like half the skeleton of the column is now gone. But the worst, the biggest hazard of this whole building was the 5th floor. It should not have existed. The building was not designed to hold the weight of another floor. It sounds like, it's just another floor, but that is an additional 25% of the overall weight added, if not more. That is huge. At first, he told his team it's going to be for a roller skating rink, which honestly would have been a lot
Yes.
safer.
Nobody
Less
goes to
traffic,
the-
not
nobody
as
goes
much
to the casino,
furniture. But instead, he said, you know what makes more money? Restaurants.
That's the worst thing you could have done.
Restaurants
Restaurant.
are
You know
insanely
how packed restaurants
heavy.
get every day
Commercial
compared to roller
ovens,
skates? Roller skates
commercial
are almost-
walk-in
a
freezers,
roller skating
industrial
place
size
with- it's like
refrigerators,
halfway empty.
lots of water. Lots of
Just like
water
White
is
Sox
heavy.
games, like-
Since there's going to be multiple kitchens on that
These
floor,
are-
I mean,
piss
you're
me off
talking
right now.
AC up there is going to be
Like-
intense. Restaurants are also more densely packed than a roller skating rink. The entire weight distribution and calculations were going off the walls. You know those big Amazon delivery trucks?
Uh-huh.
Well, the
Yeah.
weight of the 5th floor was about 100 of those delivery trucks.
Hell
Imagine parking a
Yeah. So this is current Andre, the day you're seeing this video. Yeah, you see me in 3 different shirts by now. Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Hope you guys liked it. Hopefully you guys learned something from this, even though y'all probably seen it before. Maybe not, but yeah. Crazy story, ain't it? Crazy one. Rob Mango, she got some good ass videos for sure. This is already my 3rd, 4th one, so yeah, she definitely got some good videos. If y'all got any recommendations to which other Rob Mango videos I should do, definitely like comment down below, because I think that'll definitely help give me some time to make some new ones. But you gotta actually like look at my old videos. Well, I only got 4, but just look at those. Be like, okay, did Andre make it this one? If not, then put it in the comment down below. If not, if I did, then don't do it. Comment down below, like it, subscribe it. Oh my god. Just bye. See y'all.